Hey guys, welcome. So we'll see what happens, and maybe some more people will show up. We can consider this more like an interview where a few of us that are content creators and a few other people here can just ask you some questions and learn a little bit more about your product here, your content, and your protocol. So I guess Mark, are you going to be doing most of the speaking?
Hi there. Yeah, so it kind of depends what the area is. I think mostly for game development and game design, it's Sander that's going to be most speaking, and I'm more of the blockchain side and the business side.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so let's just get started. Like, I don't usually tend to do a lot of niceties and like small chat at the beginning. Let's just get right down to it and start asking some questions about Infinity Skies. So how about you just tell us, like, generally in a couple sentences, maybe one or two sentences, like what's the main idea of Infinity Skies?
Sure. So I think Sander might be able to kick this one off really good in terms of a game design perspective.
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I'm Sander. I take care of the creative development and vision within Drinkfuel Games for our product Infinity Skies. And Infinity Skies is essentially a sandbox genre type of game where you own a floating island in the sky on which you can build your own castle using NFTs as the building blocks.
Okay, so the main goal of the game is to build your castle and to some sort of collect NFTs or purchase NFTs to try to like build your castle up and make it better than anyone else's. Like, is this how to win the game?
Yeah, so in true sandbox genre fashion, really the goal of the game can be set by the players themselves. So you can set your own goals. Maybe that is making the most beautiful castle, the most prestigious castle. Maybe that's just doing a lot of fun adventures. Maybe your goal is to make as big of a community as possible, or make a lot of friends that you can socialize with or just hang out with. So there's not really specific one set goal, but we do as developers provide some goals for players to work towards, of course.
Okay, I think I got it. So the castle is kind of like the social aspect of this game, where everybody's got their own castle, and you kind of do what you want to do with the castle to try to make yourself stand out and be special amongst the many islands, the infinite islands, as you will, right? How do you go from castle to castle? Is there like some sort of vehicle or some sort of? Is it just simply click on someone else's castle? How can I know like which castles I can go to and stuff like this?
Yeah, so the way this works is that we every person has an avatar with which they walk around. They can also customize their characters using NFTs, and then they can walk around their own castle, but they can also visit other people's castle. And they can do this using our portal system. So every island contains a portal that can be used to jump to other islands. And this is done through our world map system.
Okay, I get it. So everyone has one portal on their island, and when you go inside, you'll like get a list of something. Maybe you can sort it if there's a whole bunch of islands to friends, your people you like, kind of like your Twitter following list, something like this, right?
Yes, exactly. So you are able to search on multiple things. You can check out your friends' castles, of course, your gold members' castles, but also just castles that are ranking really well, or castles that use a lot of expensive NFTs. So there will be many different ways of finding the castle that you want to visit.
How big is a castle? Like what are we talking about? Like, how long would it take to walk from one side of the castle to the other, like in real time, actually? Like, are you talking like 10 seconds or like maybe a couple minutes, or is there like 40 rooms or like 3 rooms? Like,
so this is actually just dependent on how many islands the owner of the castle has placed down. So you start off with one starting island, which roughly takes about, I would say, 5 to 10 seconds to walk from one side to the other. But you can really keep expanding upon your selection of islands and really make it as big as you want to, really.
So is there some sort of cost to increase the islands, like, or is this just something that you'll be rewarded, or can you actually spend monetary, like cryptocurrency, like spend ETH to buy more islands?
Yeah, so these islands themselves are all NFTs, except for the starting one. That one is just for free. But all the additional islands that you want, you would either have to farm through in-game grinding, or you can go to the marketplace and buy these kind of islands from other players that have been farming these islands.
Okay, so the islands, are they transferable? Can I like sell my? I guess I would be able to sell any island. And what would happen to my castle if I sold the island? Would it just be shrunk down, and then all the stuff that I had put in that side of the castle would get jumped over to my smaller castle now?
Yeah, so essentially we have a system called building errors, and this happens when there is an error when, for example, you remove an island which has things on top of it. Then you are basically requested to fix this error. And that can be by placing another island underneath the now empty space. Or you can move the objects that are now highlighted in red as they were previously placed on the island that's now missing. And you can move those around to different locations, or you can press a single button that moves all of those items back to your inventory.
Is the map and like the castle, is it three-dimensional? Like, are we talking 3D items, or just like 2D, like side scrolling, or up, down, left, right, or is there actual?
Yeah, so actually everything is in 3D, and it's all basically from a bird's eye perspective. So you'll be having this kind of top-down view of your character, of your castle, and of other people's characters as well.
Can you move the camera in a kind of three-dimensional way and see like up, down, and left, right, or is it just circular in a two-dimensional plane around your character?
No, so it's really just camera functionality really allows for 3D visualization as well, because you can just zoom in, zoom out, but also rotate the camera around your character, or pan it out to different areas of the castle to really get a good view of different objects from all the different angles that they have.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. How about let's talk a little bit about the social interaction here. Like, let's say somebody comes to my castle. What kind of things can he do inside my castle? Like, I assume he can actually speak, right? Or is there going to be voice support, or is it all going to be text-based typing? Like, how can you guys, or are you guys going to be using some third party to have actual conversations and stuff with people inside your castle?
Yeah, so the system that we're currently developing is a system where characters can chat using a chat box system, and everything that they say will appear as a little chat balloon above their avatar's head, so that you also don't have to look into the chat log to view people's messages, but you can also just have like this conversation with another character just by looking at the text balloons above their head. So this is the main social interaction, I would say. And of course, there's unlimited possibilities with that. You see this in many, many games. When you introduce a chat function like this, people can talk about everything and anything that they want. And even also, there's many examples of games that introduce player-based mini games that are simply just through chat. We kind of hope this will also be something that our community will be doing. But other than that, we do provide also some things like emotes, where you can make your character take a funny pose of sorts, and also the possibility for NFTs that the owner of the castle can have in his castle that allow for certain mini games. So you can imagine playing some kind of beer pong with your friends in their castle.
Is there functionality for like private messaging? Like if you had a big party, could I talk privately with somebody without like World of Warcraft? You could just DM someone, just so that they can hear you, kind of whisper, right? Is there this kind of whisper feature?
Yes. So we for this chat system, we actually take a lot of inspiration from World of Warcraft. So we do have a whisper system. We do have a gold chat system. And we also have, of course, a friends list from where you can whisper to your friends specifically.
Can I go into someone else's castle and put one of my NFT products down inside his castle and just give him an NFT in this way?
You cannot place things down in other people's castles. But of course you can talk with that person, and of course, because these are all decentralized assets, you will be able to send an NFT to his or her wallet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any kind of malicious, fun, not terribly malicious, not theft or stealing, but kind of like PvP, any kind of like PvP inside the castles? Like I know there's adventures in the future. We'll get to that after, but like actually in the castle, is there anything I can do to be like naughty and kind of mess around with people or anything like this?
Yeah, so we do understand that there are always players that have a need for this kind of PvP elements in games. And we actually do want to cater as well to some aspect to this kind of player type that you have in MMOs. And we do this by introducing actually our social competition, where castles are ranked against each other, and rewards are distributed based on the ranking each month. So this is kind of a element that really speaks to the competitiveness of certain players. But there's not at the moment something planned such as PvP, at least within the castles themselves. But since we do have the adventure system, it is also not impossible that we might introduce adventures that include PvP combat.
Okay, before we move on to like any of the trade and adventure, I'm going to ask if there's anybody want to ask any more questions about the castles and get some better ideas. Just raise your hand and feel free to ask, or you can DM me and I will ask the question as well. So I'll give a few seconds for this. Okay, guess not. So I do have a couple more questions about the castles. Like, are they themed? Like, can I have like a dark, mysterious castle and she has a princess castle, like a pink one? Or are they all pretty much standard, like brick and mortar and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we do have, of course, a standard kind of medieval fantasy theme. But we also have many various culture themes that we draw from our backstory of the world. And so there will be cultures that are more, or items that will be more Arabically themed, or items that are more evil, kind of vampire themed. There are also themes that are more Nordic and Viking themed. So there's really quite a couple of themes that we draw from our expansive world.
Well, that's great. Should we talk more about adventures first, or talk about NFTs and trading and stuff like that? Like, which one do you think would be a better thing to start with?
Yeah, we can talk about adventures. That sounds fun.
Okay, cool. So yeah, why don't you give me a little quick summary of what an adventure kind of entails?
Yeah, so adventures are really a separate game within Infinity Skies itself. We really do not want to think of these as sort of mini games. We really want them to be their own experience entirely. So these adventures, we can basically expand upon these indefinitely. But for now, for the launch, we're focusing on one adventure mode, which will be a Hades-inspired or Diablo-inspired kind of hack and slash roguelite experience, where you have to crawl through dungeons of various levels, facing random encounters, finding random loot and abilities that help you along the way, and dealing with that randomness as well as you can. And it's also, of course, in the true roguelike fashion, if you do die along the way, you have to start all over at the first stage.
Okay, I get it. So yeah, like Diablo, very close, like Diablo. Are there classes? Like, do I have to choose a class, like a fighter, mage, you know, classes, right? Do I have classes?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so we really want to have kind of a system where it's really dynamic, where you start off as a basic character and you can really become any class that you want if you find the proper items and abilities for it. So you can kind of class as you go. Maybe you'll class into a wizard, or maybe you'll class into a warrior of sorts. But this is all based on the run itself. So every run you can kind of determine what you want to do based on what you get.
Okay, so there's no stat block, right? Like no strength, intelligence, dexterity, any kind of like separation of the characters in that sense, right? Is there?
No, but there are like bonuses that certain items give in terms of like attack damage or in defense and things like that.
Okay, I get it. So it's kind of like a traditional like Mega Man type game where you start at the start. Everybody starts the same. You know, whenever you enter a run, you're basically starting at level 1, and you go until you collecting items, collecting treasure until maybe you get a boss, or maybe you die, or maybe it goes on forever, or what have you. Maybe are there multiple bosses, like mini bosses, and then some big boss, or are we talking just like forever dungeon until you die, and then you end up back at the start with the stuff you found, or you warp out or something like this?
Yeah, so we're kind of thinking at the moment of a system where there's like about 5 stages, and at the end of every stage there's a captain enemy, which is a variation on the standard enemy, one of the standard enemies. So in terms of the movesets, they will be similar, but they will have some extra behaviors that the normal type of monsters don't have, making them quite a bit more challenging. And then if you reach the 5th stage, there is a boss fight, and we kind of divide this up in different trials, where we have also different environment themes. So yeah, we really have different trials which are kind of different runs on their own, with different starting penalties, starting bonuses that you have, and kind of different enemies that you'll encounter in those trials as well. And the end boss is different for each trial as well. And there is also the possibility to keep going after you've defeated the boss in order to gain higher rewards, but the difficulty will also increase as you have to start all over at the beginning again. You do get to retain your items for that run, but it's really more high risk, high reward, kind of speaking.
I see, kind of like test your limit, test your luck, right? Just you want to keep going, go for it, right? And so is there some sort of checkpoint or like some sort of warp that I have to get to in order to get out with my items? Or can at any time I just say, I've had enough, I'm going to take my loot and poof out?
Yes, you can really just make that decision only at the end of the 5 stages. So when you defeat the boss, you get the option to leave, or you get the option to go back to the start with your items and kind of go for higher rewards.
Okay, I get it. So just to visualize it a little bit, I hop in the dungeon and I poof in. I'm pretty much like, I don't know, for example, just like a nude human, right? And I kill a spider and I open a box and I find like a magic wand. So it's kind of like randomly, I'm probably going to be a wizard for the next little while, shooting bolts of lightning or shooting fire bolts or whatever. And then maybe the next time I play, I kill a rat and then I smash a barrel and I get an axe. So I'm going to probably be a fighter for a little while, or a barbarian or something, right? So is this kind of like how the gameplay is going to go?
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of what we're envisioning for it. So at the start, yes, you will be quite determined by what you find. But as you go, of course, you get a broader selection, and you can kind of switch things up later on very easily. If you say find an axe at the beginning, and then later on you find this staff that has better damage, for example, you might want to choose to change to a wizard at that point. Especially if you already have other items that synergize very well with a kind of wizard archetype.
Okay, I see. So if I let's say I kill the level 5 boss, and at that point I've got an axe, I've got a cloak, and a magic book or something, right, to cast spells.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go back to my castle, and then some other day I drop inside. I still have that axe, that magic book, and that robe, right? So I will start with everything that I zoomed out, right?
Yeah, so when you decide to leave the adventure, you leave all the things that you gathered in the adventure behind. We are at the moment still kind of deciding upon maybe you are able to take along 1 or maybe 2 items to the next run. But this should be fairly minimal because we really want to have each adventure start off with a similar difficulty. But when you do leave the adventure, you are rewarded with NFTs that you can use for the building modes or sell on our marketplace.
Okay, yeah, that answers my next question. Then I was going to ask, how do you scale it then? How are you going to scale if I got tons of items? But yeah. So you go through the dungeon, you click some items, you get to the end, you decide if you want to go further, and then when you actually decide to finish, you leave the dungeon and you're rewarded with NFTs to basically pimp out your castle with, right?
Yes, exactly. And this is the idea. And everything that you find in the adventures themselves are not NFTs, so it's not possible to kind of create a pay-to-win strategy where you buy NFTs and suddenly you're very powerful in this adventure. We really want to keep this a free-to-play kind of playground where everyone starts off equal and has an equal chance to kind of engage in this play-to-earn system.
Okay, in the earlier editions of Diablo, if I remember correctly, it's been quite a while, right? So I remember that they added the ability for people to socialize inside the dungeon. I could join a dungeon run and 2 or 3 of us could go on a dungeon run, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken for another game. But is there any of this in here? Can 2 of us go into the dungeon together, basically?
Yeah, so this is something that is currently up to debate, so I can't really share too much about this, but it might be possible.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Okay, so how do you get into the dungeon? Is there some portal inside my castle, or do I have to go speak to some NPC somewhere, or go to a town or something, or how do I get to these dungeons?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways that you can do this. The easiest way is using a quick access UI button that is on top of the screen that instantly takes you to the adventure select screen. But you can also, if you are on the world map, visit a kind of NPC-owned island that has different portals leading to different adventures. Okay, so you're going to have some generic, or just basically, I'll call it generic, but everybody has adventures, and then there's maybe some hidden Easter eggs around on different islands and stuff. You got to go talk to somebody, and you'll find out there's an adventure there that you could try and give it a go, right? Now, is there any losses for losing an adventure? If I spend some time in a run and I die, is there any kind of penalty for dying? Well, not really, except for the fact, of course, that you've just lost all your progression in the adventure that you were doing, and maybe you had a really incredible build that you were building, but now you've lost all of that and have to start all over. Okay, I get it. So no corpse runs or anything like this, right? So, all right. I like this. Does anybody have any questions about the adventures? And just raise your hand and feel free to jump right in about adventures.
Okay, I think we've covered it. Let's go on to some more of this trading, like trading market. Like, what kind of things can we trade? Like, since we can't take weapons and armor and stuff out of the dungeon, I assume it's just the pimping out the castle items, the NFTs.
Yeah, exactly. So the NFTs that you gather from adventures, they will be able to you'll be able to sell those on our NFT marketplace. And receive our native Skyblock token from other players in exchange, which you can then use to cash out on a decentralized exchange or centralized exchange, or you can buy from other players other NFTs to use in your castle. So that's really the bread and butter of how this trading system works. We are actually also gamifying this market system in certain ways to make it more interesting for people that really enjoy trading in games such as World of Warcraft or, for example, RuneScape is also some place that we take inspiration from our marketplace.
How are you going to deal with like, bots basically just running dungeons like again and again and again and again, just collecting NFTs and then trying to like flip them on, like just sell them on the marketplace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we will have a couple of ways that we will be combating that. We'll be using traditional bot detection security measurements, but we also have, just to be safe, a time lock upon opening of chests or achieving chests from the adventures. So we kind of look at what is the most optimistic scenario for someone to who is a human to most optimistically gain chests at a consistent rate. And we kind of take that time period and we lock the chests that can be gathered to that timing.
Well, that makes sense. Is there any kind of, like what a dungeon run from level 1 to level 5? How much time are we talking here? Like, how long is it going to take in average? Like, obviously people are different speed than others, skill and stuff, but on average, like how long will it take a person to go from level 1 to level 5 and kill that final boss?
Yeah, so we're kind of looking to make this experience last from about 30 minutes to 1 hour.
And what about the population of like the population density of denizens of the dungeon? Like, are we talking like kill, or like kill one and kite it around for a bunch of time? Like, are they going to be high hit points, long fights, or for the most part, like just like swarms of things?
Yeah, so this really depends on the enemy types. There will be a lot of enemy types that will be kind of a swarming enemy type of behavior, where there's often a lot of them that will just charge straight at you. But there will also be more interesting enemies with more complicated behaviors, where they might even be using the environment to hide and kind of use it to their advantage in such a way that you really have to kind of stop and think strategically how you're going to beat this enemy.
Okay, I get it. That sounds great. The trading of the NFTs, let's go back to this. So like, let's say I've got I found a chair, I got a chair or something. Like, I'm not exactly sure what kind of NFTs I'm going to get in my castle. Are we talking just the statues that I see on the website, or like all kinds of stuff, tables, chairs, like a candlestick, like this kind of stuff? Or like, can you give us some examples of some NFTs that people are going to find or be rewarded with by running the dungeon?
Yeah, definitely. So it's really just about anything that you can think of that goes into decorating or creating a building or castle. So even the wall pieces will be NFTs, the floor pieces will be NFTs, the various chairs, tables will be NFTs, there will be thrones, statues, trees, little ponds, suits of armor, banners, but also character cosmetics in the shape of chest equipables or head equipables, or hands or weapons for your character to wear as the cosmetic.
All right. Yeah, I was going to ask about that next. Is like the avatars have some armor and customization and different clothing and stuff like that they can get. But can you like obviously you'll be I don't want to say obviously, or I'll ask. Can you stylize his hair, eyes, skin color, all this kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, exactly. So we offer a standard selection to every new account, where they can set their the colors are always free for everyone to use. So you're always able to pick whatever hair color or whatever skin tone that you want. But the actual style of your haircut, that is a NFT as well that you can change. The different face types will also be NFTs that you can change. So if you really want to expand beyond the basic amounts of haircuts and face types that you start off with, you better get those NFTs.
I got it. So how about race? Like I see there's just a human woman, a human boy. It's going to be elves, orcs, goblins, all kinds of different races we can be, or is just for now it's going to start with just humans?
Yeah, so this is kind of touching the lore of the world, and I would say that the lore of the world is more inspired by the likes of Game of Thrones than it is by, say, Tolkien's Middle-earth. So in that sense, there is more focus on humans, but there are definitely mythical creatures out there as well, except those won't be playable characters.
Got it. Cool. How about this customize and grow? Like I see a sword and then it becomes a lightning sword in the end. Like what is this?
Sorry?
On the website, I see this thing called customize and grow, and then I see like what looks like an NFT sword, and it's stuck in a rock, and then it kind of changes, and it's like now it's a lightning sword, and then it is. So are the NFTs going to be like themselves? Can I modify the NFT, or it's just going to be like just tons of different kinds of NFTs, and if I want, I can get rid of the ones I already have and get new ones and so forth?
Yeah, so for the most part, customizing in this sense is meant in the way that because there are, we are going to aim for 1,000 NFT assets, which will all be unique at launch. The customization kind of is meant to hint at the different combinations that you can make with all of these NFTs into how your castle will ultimately look and feel. But we might also explore the customization of individual NFTs as we go.
Is there any services that somebody could provide in order to just get some of your, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name of your token. What's the name of your token again? And is there any way I can like farm that simply by just like doing something simple other than actually doing dungeon runs, getting, NFTs and then trying to sell NFTs on the marketplace?
Yeah, so our token is called Skyblocks, and I think actually Mark can talk a little bit more about the different mechanics that the Skyblock token gives.
Yeah, sure. So one of the ways that players can actually earn Skyblocks in the game as well is through the weekly quests that we will be putting. So each week we will put different kinds of quests that players have to complete. And once they complete these quests, they are eligible for the weekly airdrop that's being built up from the burn mechanic that we included in our token.
So can you give me an example of this quest? Like is it just give me any kind of example of a quest?
Yeah. So for example, one quest could be complete this X amount of adventures, or place this many NFTs on your island, or visit 15 castles, or cast 10 votes. That's going to be kind of how the quests are going to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So just incentivize different like aspects of the gameplay that are whatever you guys decide that we can incentivize it. Like, let's get people socializing more. We'll give them some tokens if they socialize more, basically.
Exactly. That's and also to reward the players that actually play the game because they enjoy it. And give them an extra bonus.
Is there any kind of like just like outside investment style? Like could I just buy the token, provide liquidity, and farm the token? Like, you know what I mean? Is there any of this traditional crypto stuff going on?
Yeah, so we also introduced LP farming for the Skyblocks token, and we're currently working on the design from a regulatory standpoint that allows us to do so. But how we currently envision it is that people can provide LP, and in return they can farm NFTs that they can then use to build up their castle or sell on the marketplace.
You mentioned a buyback burn or something. How are you guys collecting some revenue in order to buy the token instead of just constantly emitting minted new tokens?
Yeah, so what we're basically doing is that we recycle the token back to the community by distributing it to different sources. And the main revenue for the company is going to be coming from the royalties from the NFTs.
Okay, so if I sell my NFT in the marketplace, you guys take a small percentage, and then you're going to use that to buy back the tokens to distribute to the farms or the incentivized reward systems.
No, not necessarily, because with each transaction, people burn the token, which is outside of our own DApp ecosystem. So we don't charge any taxes on the token within our DApp ecosystem. But if people want to trade a token on PancakeSwap, for example, a 5% is being, it's not technically burned, it's kind of being recycled. And that goes into the play to earn stash. And the play to earn stash is the one that gets emptied weekly and gets distributed to the community. And the royalty structure, that's purely for the development of Dream Fuel games.
Are the NFTs locked to the contracts, or is it possible to actually sell the NFT on OpenSea or in any other marketplace that sells NFTs?
Yeah, sure. These NFTs can be traded everywhere. But yeah, our own marketplace is specifically designed to handle the amount of volume and also through the filtering. So we expect that most players will use our own marketplace, but they're free to sell our NFTs everywhere.
This might be for Sander, but are there any plans for any kind of crafting in the future other than like just actually crafting NFTs, like trying to bring in artists to build NFTs basically for you guys?
Yeah, so we do have a crafting system, though that is not so much a crafting system that is based around community content. This is really a kind of burning of NFT system where you, for example, you have a couple of common rarity tables that you are not going to use in your castle. You can then say, I want to burn 4 of these tables to get a random uncommon rarity item. So essentially an NFT of 1 rarity above the ones that you burned. Yeah, and this is actually really interesting as well for people that are scouring the marketplace for items that are undervalued because maybe the supply is high. And that's kind of where this system comes in, and it kind of balances that out in the sense that from a certain point, it will become profitable to scour the marketplace for these low value items and then burn them into something that is worth more.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's just, to get rid of like the massive amount of like stools inside the marketplace, right? Just chop them up and build a nice big table out of them. That's great.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have another question. How about have you taken any inspiration from Axie and kind of thinking about any kind of like scholarship programs for people who want to like, maybe invest and then allow other people to play? Like, I don't really see because it's so free to play, but is there any kind of like scholarship ideas in the future? Like, it seems to me that you don't need it, but I'm just wondering,
Yeah, so we did see this happening in Axie Infinity, and we actually found it a quite interesting development as well. In our case, we do provide some tools that allow for this. And it's mostly going to be just how the users utilize these tools that we offer them. We, of course, give the players the option to form guilds and kind of group together with a community of people. But it's also possible for people to lands that they own, they can then lease out to other players who can build on their plot of land in their stead. And the reward for the owner of the land is actually that they get the votes that are accumulated by that castle. So it's kind of a dynamic where one player is able to have a valuable piece of land, which they normally wouldn't be able to have, whilst the player that is leasing the land away now receives the votes and doesn't have to build the castle themselves necessarily.
Okay, yeah, you've just opened a can of worms here. Votes. What are you talking about? Votes? Is this like people vote to see who's got the best castle this week, and then that you guys are going to reward these top 5, top 10, or whatever castles for these different criteria? Is this what the voting is?
So the voting is essentially a completely community-driven system where people that visit other people's castles can leave votes upon that castle if they enjoyed their stay. And these points are called prestige points. And these prestige points are counted at the end of each month, and rewards are distributed to the top ranking castles. And then the points are reset at the start of the month again, so that everyone has a chance to end up in the top again. And I can talk a little bit about these rewards as well. Like every month, our team will be developing unique NFT assets that can be won through this kind of social competition. For the top 1,500 player, they gain a unique legendary NFT. For the top 500 players, they get a divine rarity NFT. The top 100 players, they gain a astral rarity NFT. And the top 3 players, they each get one unique crown NFT that is named after them. Of the royal rarity. And on top of that, the top 3 players also gain a 1% of all the volume of NFT trades that are being made in the form of a royalty tax, just like us as developers are receiving.
That's great. That's great. The last question I can think of is that is this all going to be running on a single server? Like, are you going to have different servers for different locations? Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't played World of Warcraft in a while, but I remember having to choose my server, and then I'm kind of locked into that server. I can't go migrate to my friend's server and so forth. Is there any of these kinds of issues?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to set up multiple servers for different regions in the world to make sure that you have a decent connectivity wherever you are in the world. But it wouldn't necessarily be in the same way as World of Warcraft, where you have a whole list of servers that are in the same region, so to speak. We'll just be defining it across global regions.
So yeah, so if I live in Asia and I got friends in America, for example, specifically me, I live in Asia, but I'm from Canada. So it's going to be difficult for me to interact with my Canadian friends through these servers, or are they going to be connected kind of like a blockchain in that sense?
No, so it's actually in terms of being able to meet other people or being able to visit castles from other regions. This is entirely possible. Literally, what server you are connected to will be dependent on whose castle you are visiting. So if you're visiting a castle of someone who is from the Asia region, you'll automatically be joining the Asia server.
That's great. Okay, that's pretty much all I can think of. Is there anything that you think I missed that's really important that I should have asked?
I'm not sure, Mark.
No, I think we have like a lot more to talk about regarding our dev ecosystem. But yeah, we also are running out of a bit of time. But yeah, I think for now regarding the game, I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Like it's now or never, guys. Raise your hand and just ask a question, and then if not, we'll say goodbye. Okay,
so
I guess.
A question. Sorry, CEAZOR, I think you've got a couple of questions from the chat itself. So Passive Crypto's got a question. It basically says, do you consider the possibility of collaboration with DeFi projects? For example, a sushi-themed castle or a sushi-themed region? And furthermore, would there be any benefit for other users while using sushi, like a discount on fees, etc.?
Yeah, so we are kind of looking to make some crypto-themed assets for certain partners that we're working with. And also we are kind of thinking about the possibility of NFT artworks being able to be used in picture frames that you can hang on your wall.
How about a Creator 8 block? That would be nice. I'd put a Creator 8 block inside my castle.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks so much for coming, guys. Yeah, I learned a lot, and I appreciate your spending time with me and answering my questions and so forth. And thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Right.
Oh, hi, Dunks. Dunks does have a question. I'm not sure if he can mic.
Yeah, sure. We got some more time.
You should be able to go, Dunks. I've
Just a real quick one. Well, it might not be super quick, but could you just talk a little bit about the timeline for it? You know, like what stage are you guys kind of at now? How long have you been working on this for? And kind of just a general guideline on like the timeline for like a release.
Yeah, so I can share not everything in this regard, but I can share a couple of things about this. Essentially, we've been working on Infinity Skies since November 2020, and we are expected to launch our token alongside our game in Q1 of 2022.
Okay.
Are there going to be any? Oh, sorry. Are there going to be any airdrops or anything like you're going to incentivize anybody to join your community in this way?
Yes, we're definitely going to have some very exciting marketing events leading up to the launch. So I would say to everyone that is interested in that kind of thing, tune into our different channels of social media, and we'll keep you posted if anything of the sort happens.
Can I just ask how many people are working on the how many people are on the team, and kind of what are the roles like?
Yeah, sure. So we currently have a team of about 17 employees, including myself and Mark. And for the most part, that is artists, because we're working on a lot of different unique 3D assets. But we also have two programmers for the game, a smart contract developer who is able to write any smart contracts from scratch. And so in that sense, nothing is forked on our side.
Wow, that's really cool. And just one more thing, just investment. Like, are there any? Is it all just like financed by the team, or is there any like notable investors or? Yeah.
So I can perhaps talk a bit about that. In regards to investors, we're currently rounding up our seed and private rounds, and we will come with an announcement regarding that in a couple of weeks once we have completely finished that off.
Are there any more spots on those seed rounds? Are there any more spots available, or is it completely done?
No, currently we are very oversubscribed.
What? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, yeah, no, we currently don't have any public spots in that regard.
Okay, what about for like particular kind of investment funds that are well known in crypto space? Like, is there any spot for those kind of investors or?
So at the moment we are looking to finalize the cap table, but we're always open for proposals. You can always send a DM to us and then engage in the conversation.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for the questions, Donks. It was great. I guess you guys did say you have a call right now, pretty much, right? So I'll just say thanks again, guys, and you can always hit us up. I'm sure people will ask you some more questions and ask you, in our Discord and in your Discord and so forth. And I'll try my best to share some more information in my Telegram group for the people who missed this. I am recording this, so I will be sharing that in some ways or other, and I will share that with you guys as well when that is produced.
That sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much again for having us. It was really fun.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome to be here. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, thanks for all the information. I know I talk a lot, I ask a lot of quick questions, but I like to get down to the nails and tacks, right, and just understand things.
Yeah, that's also much easier for us. Fantastic.
Okay, so I guess we'll sign out now and say goodbye. And again, thanks again. Ciao, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.